Welcome to Tech Ties and Human Vibes, where we explore the tech that powers modern businesses and drives innovation. I'm Adam, and with me is Nancy. We'll be talking to entrepreneurs, innovators, and industry experts about the tools they use, the challenges they face, and how technology is shaping the future of work. Let's dive in.
Something that I've been thinking about, and actually it's come up again and again and again, and maybe that's why it's on my mind yet again. Um, and I guess it happens because I talk to a lot of business owners, and something that is very common amongst us business owners is change. But what has come up is not just change, but like how none of us like it. Nobody likes it.
You know what though? I kind of enjoy change. Like,
See, I feel like there's a very few.
yeah, I feel like there's very few as well, and I like it to an extent. So much so, I've created a beast out of my wife that she likes change now, and and it's like now I'm thinking, what did I do? Because now she wants to change all the time, and I'm like, no, I don't want to change now. I say I like change, but I also like routine. So I know that sounds really weird, but yeah. Anyway.
Oh, does that mean that you're changing again and moving to Texas? I'm just saying. You happen to be coming up or taking a trip to
Oh,
Texas in a little bit. I keep trying to convince you. I think maybe one of these days.
I just don't think I'm moving back to Texas, but we'll see. Life is short and often chaotic. So maybe, maybe.
You never know. You never know. No, but honestly, the conversations that I've been having is really about the fear of change that so many people have. And I think that like I I fear change, of course. I think that that's just normal human behavior. Um but I think I'm also used to it. So a lot
Mm,
of the times I tend to see the need for change before it actually needs to happen. Like I don't know if I'm explaining that right, but like in business, there's times where profits are going down, something is happening within your business that if you don't make a change, it's it's not going to work out, right? Like
right.
so I feel like I have this ability to see when that when that change needs to happen before it becomes like a tremendous problem. Does that make sense?
That does. And I think the reason you can see that is because that has to do with a leadership skill that you have. Um, a leadership entrepreneur skill, right? And I think that be, because, and I say that because I've unfortunately I've had the privilege, and I say unfortunately I've had the privilege to work with a fair amount of people, and some of them cannot see change until it slaps them in the face. But I think because you can look at where you're at now, and I can speak to this of you because I've worked with you for a while, you can see where you're at now, but not only what's going on here, but where you want to go and what needs to change to get there. Where a lot of people have issues with that. They can only see, they're not thought leaders. They can't see 10 feet in front of them, right? You can't see the forest for the trees in front of you, kind of thing. You have the ability because of your leadership skills to say, we're going to need the change now to not have this happen in 6 months or in a year.
Well, I appreciate that, Adam. But I don't think that's a leadership skill in a sense.
I think it's a
Or
leadership skill.
I don't think that's where it came from. I think that
Oh,
it came from like many years of constantly changing and needing to adapt.
oh,
Like I
okay.
learned
I
to
see what you're
adapt
saying.
early on as a kid, right? And so maybe that's why it's an acquired skill.
It's an acquired skill, but I'm gonna go back to you were learning that leadership skill from a young age.
Diapers, let me tell you. No.
I'm just telling you, you knew what you needed to change, right?
But love that. Love that joke. But a lot of people don't see that or the need for that until it smacks them in the face, but because of fear a lot of the times. And it's like, well, if you don't realize that you either need to proactively make a difference, make a change, or so either you need to proactively do it, or you're going to have to not only make the change at the same time as dealing with your mindset about it all at the same time. So it becomes even more painful to go through change at one time, like, unless you are proactive about it. And the reasons for that, in my mind, like in a business setting, is what are your customers asking for? And if you're not paying attention to what your customers are asking for, the direction in which their industry is going, the changes that they are needing to make, then you're not going to be able to pay attention to when you need to innovate. And that's the part of what change is in a business. It's constant innovation.
As an MSP or just really any small business owner, you're saying, if I understand you correctly, you're saying you constantly have to keep an eye on your clients. And if
Absolutely.
they're changing, you change with them.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. If we look at, the Blockbusters of the world, Hollywood
Oh, yeah.
Videos of the world, right? They weren't keeping an eye on their customers, who their customers were. Their customer changed over time. It went from it being a an adult, right, that could drive to a store to now they were teenagers looking for entertainment.
Yeah.
And you know, um, at first it was, Redbox that tried to fix that in a way, make it more convenient, and then it became Netflix. Netflix, I mean, Redbox who?
Yeah.
At
Yeah,
this point,
exactly. Yeah, I
because
think they
they only paid attention to one segment of who their audience was, and they didn't look deep enough to realize that the true customers at that point in time were kids, parents getting these videos or this entertainment for their kids, and these kids are now more involved in technology. So, like, if you don't go deep into getting to know your customer and what they're going through, who that truly is, then you're not going to be able to innovate because you're not paying attention to the right thing.
yeah, I see what you're
Mic
saying.
drop.
Yeah. Yeah, let's end right now. This is over. No, I definitely see what you're saying about the whole change. Yeah, and with Redbox, I mean, I think Redbox started digging the grave for Blockbuster. I think Netflix pushed him in it and buried him. I think was
Right.
how that happened. But
Yeah, they saw who the true customer
yeah,
was.
yeah, and I mean the same could be said with what was it? Microsoft. Their phones. I can't remember what their phone OS was, but I mean, I look
Right.
back at Microsoft's phones and I'm like, why are they not the dominant phone company or phone OS in this world?
Right, because Apple paid a lot more attention to who was buying and who was going to be buying at certain points.
Yeah. Yeah, because Microsoft's main focus was enterprise.
Right, exactly. And Apple decided, no, it's the everyday consumer,
Yeah.
right? We got to make it easy for grandma to be able to listen to music if she wants to on her phone, like
And I'm going to
anywhere.
go back to Steve Jobs, okay? Him having a leadership trait that he was able to see that he's was going to change now before it was too late. And I still believe that. I still believe that's a leadership trait. You change before it's too late, or you're going to be the next Netflix. You're going to or whatever Blockbuster.
Can you hear Zelda?
I hear Zelda barking in the background. Yeah, that's fine. She's not very loud.
That's actually my groceries that just arrived.
Oh,
Oh
that's funny.
god.
And like, okay, look at that. Look how lazy we are now. I mean, is it lazy or is it time saving? Because it is. I'm going to tell you, we order groceries all the time. Like,
See?
it's so much easier. My wife, laying in bed at night, will place a grocery order, and in the morning, we get up and it's at our front door.
There you go. You can make
You
breakfast now.
you just can't beat that, you know?
I know, right? And that's part of what drives innovation. DoorDash, Kroger's, whoever Kroger's is the one that's answering my door, and they're not. This isn't sponsored by Kroger's, by the way, but
But if they wanna sponsor it, they
but if
can.
they want to sponsor, right? But anyway, all of these different platforms, right? Because at the beginning, it was what DoorDash,
Yeah,
Instacart. It was going back to the innovative technologies that are paying attention to their consumer. They're paying attention to who it is that they serve. And now there's all of these other companies following suit. Now you've got Walmart and Target and all these other big guys that changed their stores in order to accommodate not just delivery but pickups, and making it more convenient for their customer because they saw that that's what their customer wanted. So they innovated.
but,
I love how we
if it wasn't for a Walmart being in literally every neighborhood in the United States, you wouldn't be able to have that. Um, I mean, because there's Kroger, for example, right? There's not a Kroger in every corner, but there is a Walmart in every corner.
pretty much, yeah. Well, and there's also Amazon. Amazon
There is Amazon, even though they don't
Amazon
have a
is
brick and mortar. Yeah.
yeah, and this isn't also sponsored by Amazon, but Amazon, if you're listening, no. Amazon is literally everywhere and in the cloud.
Jeez.
I had to.
You nailed that one.
That's my corny joke for the day.
It was good. It was good.
Oh my god.
But you're right. Amazon, I mean, Jeff Bezos, right? He saw a need. And I don't think, I don't know without talking to him personally, but I bet you he did not see Amazon being what it is today when he first started peddling books back in the old days.
No, he didn't. It I don't know if what he saw was the vision of a logistics company, but I knew that he wanted to serve a need, and that's it started off with books, and then it grew from there to being now logistics.
Yeah.
It's that's what they are. McDonald's started off as a hamburger restaurant. They did not see the fact that they were going to be a retail. I'm sorry, not retail, a real estate company. Is that
Oh, yeah.
what
Yeah.
they
Well, when
are?
you said retail, I was like, wow, what are they doing now?
Right? Oh, yeah, they're selling buns. I don't know,
Big buns if you eat enough.
on shelves.
But yeah, they are. They're a real estate company. And you know what? Walmart is too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's where for MSPs, when I think about how they need to innovate within their businesses, it is literally paying attention to who their buyers are. What's changing within not just our local communities, but industry wide. What is changing for them? What is driving them to need to innovate? Because that's how MSPs are going to step in and be able to guide and help through those changes as well. I feel like MSPs become the coaches of change, because we're all dealing with technology changes, but at the same time, and I feel like I'm going in levels here, at the same time, those MSPs need that support and be able to see when that change needs to happen for their customers. Example. Um, you're like, "Okay,
I love
good."
I love examples. I love them. I can then wrap my head around what you're saying. So go ahead.
So for example, um, the buyers today are more millennial decision makers. And previous to this, we were talking about millennials being in the workforce and how do we deal with millennials, blah, 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 in that sense. But now 10 years later, these millennials, me being one of them, are the decision makers in companies. They are the ones that are looking at how to innovate their businesses through what they already know and grew up in, which is technology. They already know that technology is going to make things more efficient. They already know that technology is going to get them to where they want to go. They're not making the same decisions that their parents were making when they were running companies. And I say this because I've seen this across the board, with multiple different industries. The generations that are taking over in leadership are now saying, how can I do what I need to do quicker, better, and with more intelligence than previously before? And so all of that is turning into, how do they make technology decisions within their business, which then means that they need that they need someone on that end to be able to guide them through that and provide those answers to them. And so if we're not seeing, as MSPs, if we're not seeing where their businesses are going and where they need to take technology with them on that, I guess, journey, then we're missing the mark on how we're servicing them.
Hmm. So you're saying the millennials are that way, but I mean, we're Gen Zers are getting ready to. I mean, they're nipping at the heels of the millennials, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They're a totally different breed.
Yes, they were born in technology. Like millennials were, when we started, we got like half non-technology
Yeah,
and half there, right? We weren't born in it, we were raised with it.
right.
So
Your
that's
computers were
different.
beige.
Right. Exactly. And so now, it's totally different, but they're not using technology in the same way
Yeah.
that we would expect. They are consumers, they are not technologists. So there's a difference.
So how do you future proof an MSP? I mean, how do you future proof an MSP? Because you're looking at this, right? You're dealing right now with the millennials taking over the workforce, knowing that the Gen Zers are right behind them. Their technology is going to be totally different. Is there something that an MSP could look at and say, okay, I really need to focus in this area to meet that demographic as they get older?
Yeah, it's how can you fill the gaps within the technology that they need for their business? Again, they're not looking for I mean, if we're talking about like these kids have these kids, and I say kids because I have these are my kids. They're their age, right? We have those kids.
I've
They're
got one too.
they're not looking for, any kind of, support in that sense of my computer is broken, and no, it should just be running, it should just work. That's just, like, that was so yesterday, right? That's so 2000 and late.
Yeah.
Um, so when it comes to how they work, uptime is like, what is that even? It should just work continuously. So when you think about it in that way, now you have to think about the infrastructure that it takes to meet that level of expectation, whether that be, um, through the software that they are using because it needs to work super fast, whether that is the integrations they're putting together because it takes a few different items to make a business operate, like um, Jay McBain was saying during a talk today that was 7 vendors to a stack now. So every business is operating, let's say,
Mm,
seven different items that need to be integrated in order to work efficiently. So that's another thing that they're looking at. So it's not just something not working. They're looking at how is everything going to integrate and collaborate and work together at once for a seamless interaction.
yeah. Hmm. Interesting. So he was saying that because I've not gone back and listened to that presentation yet. Um, he was saying that every MSP has an average of 7.
Every business.
Every business.
Every business. So not just MSPs, every business has a stack.
Did it give
When
an
you think
example
about
what this stack
technology stacks, so
looks
every
like?
Leslie has talked about it on previous shows, right? Like
Yeah.
you need a regular business, an average business needs communication. So within that communication um, silo, let's say, there is your email, there's your VoIP provider, so your phone. Now there's text messaging if you're texting your clients as well. So that's it could be 3 different providers,
That you're
3 different
using.
technology providers under just communication for one
Yeah.
business. So then you take on, finance. Now you have your tax software, you have your bookkeeping software, you have your dashboards and
Mm,
reports, right? So those could be different softwares that tie in together, or they could be a single platform. And then you can move on down the line of every business. So it's not just MSPs that we're dealing with our technology stacks. There's business stacks of software. And so the more that as MSPs we get to know that stack for our customers and the
yeah.
industries that we focus in on, the more that we can add value and innovate with them for their business.
That's a really good that's really good information to have because I take it from what you're saying is if you're an MSP and you're focused or highly focused in a certain area, whether it's laundry or coffee shops or the health industry or doctors' offices, you would typically know if this doctor uses these 10 tools, this doctor over here, he's going to use these 10 tools as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
Like any MSP or IT company that works with dentists can tell you there's a few different softwares that they're going to be working with. It's either Dentrix, it could be EagleSoft, or then there's a few others. It's been a couple years since I've been out of the game, but same thing when it comes to legal. You're talking Clio, you're talking Time Matters, you're talking. There's certain softwares in all of these different companies, so
yeah.
they're innovating within those industries. There's technology being innovated in other industries that MSPs can leverage and should connect with in order to help their customers and deepen the relationship that they have with the customers within that business so that they can help them innovate, which then helps the MSP continue to innovate as to where they need to be as well.
Hmm. I like that. Um, it just brings me back to to a day when a private school reached out. It was a little Christian school reached out to me and was looking for, and I'm not an MSP. Okay, just so we're all on the same page. I've done some work, but I'm not an MSP. And they were looking for software because they were starting a Christian school, and they wanted to know what software they would need. Well, that led me to calling bunch of private schools finding out what software they used. And they needed a check in software to be able to check the kids in, attendance, right?
Right.
Um, a way that the teachers could message the parents of the classroom and set it all up. So anyway, yeah, I had to set all that up. But if I was an MSP, this is a question for you. If I was an MSP, how would I go find other schools that I could do that for? Would I just pick up the phone and start calling and saying, "Hey, here's what I can do for you"? Like what kind of avenue do I how do I reach them?
Well, I mean, that was it worked for you, right?
It did. It did work for me.
I mean, um, but yeah, I mean, ultimately speaking, if an MSP is focused in on, let's say, a specific niche, a certain industry, it becomes a lot easier for you to not only figure out the what companies are using, because just like our MSP community exists, so do the communities in other industries, and
Yeah,
they all talk and they all discuss what it is that they're doing. They have industry trainings and so on and so forth. So it makes it a lot easier for you to essentially have a go to market strategy
yeah,
where maybe you don't have to go door to door. You can, because that is a strategy, right? And go to those certain companies, but now you can start looking at the industry, um, organizations that exist for them. You can start looking at for the CRNs of the world, their publications, their who does their awards for them. Where are these
exactly.
software companies advertising? Because that's exactly where you should be.